here we are again. I feel like I'm going back in time here a little bit.
Okay.
Brand new Ember Guard.
Ember Guard.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Are we doing unboxing videos now?
No, that's stupid.
Oh, good. Thank God.
I mean, it would be like 2 weeks late or whatever, too.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's already seen the contest.
Already watched and not pre-ordered or something.
Now, what if this said, I don't know, Black Stone or something, and it had 3 Space Marines shooting some like crazy Lictor Tyranid guys on the front or whatever.
Nice.
Would that sell better?
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Although I really do like, you can't really see it, and it will be impossible to show you. There's a Stormcast guy who's like, he's not even there. He's like,
oh no,
he's this guy actually.
Oh, okay. Oh, with the bow, he's pretty. Yeah.
He's like, he's got the crossbow like a rifle kind of.
Yeah.
Like this.
Like a bolter.
Yeah, like a bolter.
Like a bolter.
Yeah. He's I like that guy.
He's cool.
Although
cool.
I haven't played this game, and so we got like a store copy, and so at some point, maybe today, I don't know, Chris and I will play, and I guarantee you this
the Doom Wheel guy?
This Doom Wheel guy is probably busted as hell.
Yeah, of course, he brought a vehicle to a little infantry fighter.
yeah. I'm kind of excited. Is there a Globadier guy in here? 'Cause that would be also great.
There is, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a Globadier guy.
Yeah.
He probably does some busted stuff too.
Yeah.
That's cool. The models are beautiful.
Yeah.
That was never Underworlds' problem, though, right?
No.
Like,
no.
It never had an issue with really cool miniatures.
No.
But I guess my question today is, for those that are watching and for you, Jay, is like, should this relaunch have just been more of the same, like what they're doing now? Because it feels like they're putting this box set out now because they put Scaventide out, and this is a new season for all of their IPs that fall under the Sigmar banner.
Yep.
Or should they have rolled the dice with something different? Rolled the dice.
Right.
And just used their greatest IP of all and just gone for the easy bucks.
It is surprising
and just do like
that we don't have a 40K
version of this.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's you could have like little terrain barricades and junk that fit on hexagons and go in different spots and make little barrels and covers. Yeah, I guess maybe is it because because Kill Team exists. It's kind of like they're like it's. But I don't know. I still think it would be fine. It's 40K.
It kind of reminds me of the age-old, like, this is when we used to run Games Workshops, and we're like, we would spend all this time, like, brainstorming, okay, we're going to make events for the store, and we're going to, like, we got to try to get this game going and this game going. And in the back of your head, you're like, okay, I can have, like, an event for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, okay, I can have an event for Lord of the Rings. Or I could not do those and do 2 extra events for 40K and make more money. You know what I mean? Like,
is it just the reality in most stores or whatever?
There's a reason why it is what it is. Like, it's huge as it is. Like, it blows everything else away sales wise. And I'm not sure there's like an amount of products you could make that would be too many products,
For that game.
Yeah. And I mean, you could make the argument that you're cutting the pie up a little bit with Kill Team because, like, Kill Team is, for a lot of people, it's become like an entry point into 40K because of its price, right? So you it's less gated than 40K is because you need way less stuff to play it. And I suppose you could make the argument that, like, a 40K Ember Guard would be competing with that per se. But when you look at the actual pool of people buying miniatures that are already existing hobbyists, I think ultimately you're just trying to sell those people more cool models.
I mean, once again, instead of it saying Ember Guard, if it said Space Marine 2 on it.
Okay.
You got Titus and his boys.
Well, now you're blowing the lid off the thing here.
And then you're rolling parry dice and counter dice and whatever.
Wow, that's strong. So only like 8 million people bought that game.
Only like a ton of people, and we've continued to enjoy the residual excitement from that a month later, later.
They've got that crappy little Barnes and Noble game that they made or whatever, which is
that's true.
It's very safe.
Yeah,
it's very safe.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I think the greater question will be, obviously there's a faction of people that are going to be like, oh, I told you Underworlds is going strong, and obviously JW's committed to at least another season, whatever that means, a year or two or something, and maybe 3 years, probably.
Well, let's talk about what that word committed means, because they put some new stuff out, but they're committed. It seems to me like they're committing a lot less than historically, because what they're doing is they're basically, I think, in addition to this, they've only announced, I think, 2 new teams.
I mean, they're going to rebox, right?
They're going to
rebox teams with new cards. So that's easy.
It's easy, and they're going back to the well again, basically, and kind of just. I
mean, if strategically you're reusing this investment that you already have, and they probably still have some teams still wrapped, or it's easy for them to print. The R&D is very low. They just have to print some cards, which they probably designed way in advance. And why not? It's an easy offering, and I think this comes back to, regardless of how popular X or Y is in your store, whether it's this game or AOS or Old World or any game not named 40K, putting out the offerings, if you can make it cheap enough to put it out for your own company that it doesn't cost you a crazy investment, then why not? You're gonna catch and keep those customers, and maybe there'll be new ones. There'll probably be some AOS customers. Maybe that's the timing too, right? Is you're gonna have. There's obviously, anytime there's a new ad, there's new people, right? For sure.
Well, you open a new door, right?
AOS 4.0 for sure had a couple of people left, a bunch of people jumped in. The people that are playing Spearhead will very easily slide into Underworlds because it's got the similar kind of breakneck pace on a little board, with some little objective cards and whatever, and if they've got a Skaven Tide, it's a no-brainer. It's just more cool sculpts to add to your collection.
Absolutely.
So, I really shouldn't be that surprised, I guess.
No, it's ultimately it's the safer play for sure. I think you're right, and it's been a Games Workshop strategy too for a while, right? You look at games like Middle Earth, right? Every time there's they kind of do this really slow trickle sort of thing normally, and then when they have an opportunity they put to add a little bit of excitement to the game, they'll do a new edition, or they'll put out a new big box starter set or something like that. But really they're not really giving too much new. They're giving a tiny bit of new, but then they're using it as a chance to relaunch their whole range essentially, right?
Yeah, put it back in people's heads. It's kind of I don't know. It's not bad. It's probably a good idea overall. For the stores, it's fine. We don't. It's relatively small footprint, and if you do manage to get some new fans, I think I don't know if it will, but Kill Team definitely, or the previous edition rolling into this one, really proved that keeping it, and that's another. We do preach this a lot. If the game does stick around long enough, it has time to build up. We always talk about customers rolling in and being always concerned about, even still, decades later, about, is this game that I'm kind of interested in, what's happening with it? Is it hanging around? Is it got players? Is it being played? So they're always is it? And there's something to be said about keeping it in the, and maybe Games Workshop is uniquely able to do this because maybe a different company can't.
The resources, yeah.
Because they're just its sales have really dipped, and the restock sales aren't really big or whatever. So then they can't keep it going in forever. They have to eventually trim the fat or whatever. Whereas for Games Workshop, this is such a way down on page 5 little line item, Underworld sales or something. They're just
It's definitely part of their umbrella of games where they're just happy to still have that guy as a customer.
Yeah.
And they realize that there's a cost to that. There's a cost to having this extended web of products that catches people in the periphery, and it's not as profitable on the periphery. But the thing we all know, we can all relate to, or watching this have been in the hobby a long time, is there's this rebound effect always, right? So if you're still in the system, you're still going to hobby stores that have GW stuff, you're still going to your Warhammer store, whatever, you're still consuming, you're going to Warhammer community, you're checking out stuff, you're still in that system, and you're likely to relapse at some point. Yeah. And all they're hoping for is that you relapse into one of their large games again. Yeah. Really, that's, I think, that ultimately the strategy, right?
That's a very common...
That's why they have Skaven and Stormcast in this box.
Yes.
Ultimately, right?
Yeah, a very common thing is I don't know how many times, but there's always a handful of people every year, maybe more, that come in the store and they're like, oh, I'm playing 40K now. I haven't played in a decade or 5 editions or something, and you're like, okay. And then it's always the same story. They're like, yeah, some minis came out or whatever. That's the other beauty of having like 40 years of data is like they have this cycle of the person entering the hobby, in their like late teens or whatever, and then entering, leaving, coming back when they're older with some more time and money, and then like that like loop has happened like over and over. Like they know that as long as you like keep the familiarity, you will. Same with Magic, like again, Pokemon. Like Pokemon is so relevant to that right now. Like it's unbelievable. When I objectively look at Pokemon, I'm like, how? Because like, so a little tangent or whatever. So like, this is very, and this will answer my question myself a little bit. Obviously, what happens is you have children, and then they hit that age of like 4 to 7, and you can't escape it because their friends get some. And the crazy thing is, like, my son barely watches the show or anything. Like he's watched it a little bit, but he's really doesn't care. Like he's not that interested in the show.
No.
But the card thing for a little while was like very, and it was just like that classic child toy fad that rolls in every whatever, and then it obviously like rocket fuel surged because of like millennials like us or whatever that were like. Hit with the pandemic, like or collectible, the surge in collectibles. But when you like look at the product, it's just constantly reprinting of things and just in new arts.
What's really unique though, going back to Pokemon, is that you for the first time basically have the parents of these young kids that they had Pokemon cards when they were kids.
Yep.
So there's because you have this thing in retail, in the hobby world and retail, which is kind of a barricade or a hurdle, you would say normally, which is like the parents are disconnected from the kids' interests, right? And so there's this like explanation gap that when they come in and you're like, the parents are like, what the hell is this? I don't understand it. That's eroded a lot with some of these, like, and Games Workshop is like you said earlier in the video, really benefiting from this brand thing of like 40 years of building up these customers, where now people are rolling in with their kids. Now it maybe not happening super like a lot, but it's definitely happening where there's way more knowledge about what it is, and there's less like, what the heck is this? There's like, oh, I know what this is, and I can relate to this a little bit at least, and that makes it easier, I think, for the parents to say yes to things.
I mean, every single one of the late 90s whatever hit shows, toys, movies, whatever, has rebounded immensely. So whether it's Pokemon, Magic, Warhammer, Digimon, Beyblades are hot again. Like some of these, like all of these things have just like come back with a vengeance again.
Well, I think the companies realize that they're selling to the parents, right? In a lot of ways, right?
100%.
You're selling to the parents, so.
And they're the best because they will spend irrational amounts of money on these things. I'm guilty as well, although I try and be better at it. But it's like, it's like your kid is like a slight bit, like for a second they're interested in this thing, and you're like, oh, I better get them everything.
I better, we can't mess around here. Yeah,
and then meanwhile the kids are like, I try and be really measured. I blame my wife a little. This case, she doesn't watch this anyway.
Why would she?
Yeah, she's got me.
You're in it.
Yeah. But I really try and curtail it a little, because I know that, like, and same thing. Like he liked sorting cards and he likes knowing his binder's there, but he doesn't care anymore. He's already moved on to something else. Anyway. No, this is a constant thing. This is why I joke about the things of like, well, obviously Return to Old World benefited massively from this. Why I joke I said this a few videos ago, that maybe they should entertain classic 40K or whatever, even though it's technically Horus Heresy. But if it was just third ed 40K,
I've kind of always wondered why, and hey, maybe someone can make a really good case against this from a business standpoint, but I've always thought, like, what would be so bad about selling old versions of the game? You know what I mean? Like, I think there's like this fear that like you're gonna cut up and like they're going to muddy the message too much, and they really want it to be really simple. You play the new edition. We want you to buy the new edition, but
Yeah.
they've really unfortunately to them, they've proven that there's like a huge market for nostalgia with their major products, and they really haven't, other than the Horus Heresy, which is obviously a huge thing. They haven't tapped into the 40K nostalgia as hard as they could, I think.
It's no different than a classic console or something where it comes loaded with all the old games, like those things. Mm-hmm. It's fun. Yeah, you can go play all of the any classic game you want pretty easily these days, but it doesn't stop you from buying a PS5 or something, you know.
No,
so
no,
maybe,
it doesn't. I think maybe
that's the thing, right? Is like,
I mean,
and maybe it's a capacity thing. Maybe they just need to and maybe that's where they're going. Like,
I think they're a pretty conservative company. With all things being said, I think that's why they get really set in the way they do things. I think a little bit.
They are. Yeah.
It takes a while for them to kind of catch on to things sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
But they do leave a lot of. They're only waking up to the idea that they're like a Nintendo or like a Disney, where like they have this amazingly powerful brand IP thing. And I think Space Marine 2 will really. They're going to learn some lessons.
Get ready for more of these things. Yeah.
They underestimated that hugely, and I know that because they're out of starter sets right now. That they underestimated, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to learn some lessons.
I'm sure they're panicking a little because holidays are coming.
Exactly,
and they're like,
right? Oh my gosh. I'm panicking, so I can imagine they're panicking.
Yeah. Like, I guarantee you that that there are certain restock items that are going to stay out of stock well into the new year because all the capacity is on starter boxes right now.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
But yeah, there's definitely, I think, a future here where like they start to really start to like market to that a lot more intelligently and a lot more matter of fact. And I said, Old World is also a great example. Like they're getting to resell old stuff again, and they're doing it in a really like positive way. I think giving people a chance to buy old models they missed out on and that sort of thing, which is good. And let's be real, like if like you said, if people are willing to do it with Old World, like there's probably a marketable like 40K classic or like 40K greatest hits game that they could make that uses the old engine and then uses old minis.
I think though interestingly, this is where the discussion would be really difficult, is like what era and how do you do it. I feel like it's maybe a little extra tough with 40K because I don't know if just putting out the whatever you want to call it, the third to eighth era tactical squad is enough. I feel like there's so many. I think you have to go like back to the.
You go like second edition.
Seconded, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Box with like packed with
second
all
ed. I think to me is
beaky
probably where you go.
Minis.
Rogue Trader was just such a mess.
You know, and it has to have but it has to have the art from that time, like the way, it looks and everything.
Yeah, absolutely,
maybe that if you went. Oh, man, a lot of those minis were rubbish though. It's like
they are they're rubbish objectively.
You're right. Yeah.
Right?
Like there's a charm to them,
but they're very charming.
Like that
subjectively,
was,
right?
I think people forget that a lot of what they chose to bring back in Old World was like from an era. It was like before everything was plastic, but the metal was really good.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
So like most of the Old World stuff that's offered is like anything before that though is like really jank. Like it's. You know, it's a lot of like guys that are
like
just
late '80s, early '90s stuff. It's The
I mean, again, I get the charm. I don't want to belittle the charm of it and the nostalgia for the people that were. And I guess so. I guess that's the curious thing is would the 30-year-old now really want that or no? I think they'd have to go to 1998. I think is the time. I think they have to go to like third edition. Yeah. I think they have to focus on that.
I mean, that's a lot easier to make like a greatest hits game. Right?
Yeah.
If you did like third to seventh or whatever, you could like take like what they did with Fantasy Battles, the new Fantasy Battles. Really, you take the best of all the things and mishmash and make like and maybe add even some new stuff in. I guess that's what Horus Heresy is kind of. But then they also like
Horus Heresy doesn't have Xenos really.
No, it doesn't. So, that's the problem, right? Is It's
it has a certain look though. Like the only thing about Heresy, like maybe the Predator tank and the Mars pattern equipment, like it's kind of its own thing.
It's their historical game, right?
Yeah,
it's their historical game. Yeah. and it very much has that vibe to it. Everything's like realistic and
Yeah.
it's not goofy looking like the old kind of stuff as much.
Third
It's
Ed is
more-
when it started getting a little more serious, but
Yeah.
it still had its
Yeah, because you had the first plastic multi-pose Space Marine kit, right? That was well, sorry. I guess the Rubicon, like the original Beaky guys, were kind of multi-part, but
Yeah, yeah.
I mean like the first serious like shoulder pads, like
Yeah.
conventional one that looks like the ones that look
yeah.
like today. Yeah.
And you had like the when we moved from the Deimos patterns to the Mars pattern things, and I guess you could probably just do you could do it Old World in, right? You pick a handful of armies, you pick like 6 or 8, and you like, for some of them it's kind of funny, like there wouldn't be that much change.
No,
It would be like the Eldar range without the aircraft. The Falcon is just right back where it started.
Yeah. Falcon's like, hey, I feel like
I'm back. Yeah.
I'm new again, baby.
I only want to play the Falcon from that era because it was unkillable. It was great.
Yeah, it's the hollow field rolling two dice or whatever, and
Spirit Stone's awesome.
Oh,
It was
so
dumb.
lame.
Yeah.
Wow, we really got off topic here. So you guys are gonna love the garbage time in this one because it's so much garbage
It started
time.
with Underworlds, and then we ran out of stuff to talk about after 5 minutes.
What do you mean? There's not tons to talk about with Underworlds?
Look, it's a good game, sure.
Yeah, but I mean, is that enough these days?
I've seen it in many cases. GW and poor non-GW games. Their only crime is they're not GW. They make great products.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost like. I mean, we made a video about this last week, but like not really about the rules part thing. We were talking more about like playing with friends and having a good time and how the rules don't matter. But the rules also don't kind of matter. Like the games that really do well, it's hard to argue that it's because of the game. Like it's because of the rules, because of how tight. You know what I mean? Like especially on a large level, I don't really think.
I've seen lots of products generate fervor and excitement. That is,
There's probably more pressure on a game that's played by like a new game to be great than there is on existing games, right? Like I feel like existing games get a bit more of a pass because they've built a reputation. They have, whereas new games.
Well, they have sunken costs. So if you have a collection of Tau or something, and you played a bit this Ed, and you haven't sold your army, the new rulebook comes out, you're probably just going to pick it up because you have the army. Like you know what I mean? Like it's until you've decided to like sell and exit doesn't mean you're out. You can still be pulled back in, but you're probably like people just come and buy the new codex. That's why GW still makes codexes because it without fail like that happens too. The people skip cycles and they come back because they're just like, I have this. I spent a lot of money on this. I enjoyed this once or twice before, and I could do it again. Like it's or the new game is risk.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my god.
So this feels to me.
So this is trying to.
This is like this is kind of like in the new game space again in a weird way. Like it's new, but it's not, right? Like
yeah.
It's had a history, but in our opinion, the player pool is so depleted that
it's like a fresh start.
It does feel like a fresh start again, and it feels like for this to actually work, it's gonna take some effort, right? Like Jay and I aren't going into this being like, oh, we're gonna put like our copies on the shelf and just wait and see,
Oh,
there's a bit more of a like, okay, if we want this to actually sell, we're gonna have to actually do something.
I mean,
here.
and I guess
Right?
GW is also looking at it like, well, there's still potentially lots of customers to jump into this game. It's not like
that never tried it before,
right?
Yeah. Because I mean, like I'm trying to remember, was the first Underworlds 2019, something like that,
Oh
right?
man, you might be right. Yeah.
And so five years has passed. And it's easy to forget.
That's a while.
I know we're really into garbage time here, but like it's easy to forget.
Really
we're back on topic, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget like how many new hobbyists have come into the hobby every year. So there's, especially with Age of Sigmar, there's a ton of people that probably never tried the original Underworlds because it was very flashy in the beginning, dripped off quite a lot. Couldn't get stuff.
Yeah.
Pandemic, all that stuff. So, maybe there is something to this, like giving it a second run, second chance. I do wish the price point was a bit lower on the core box. I wish it was a bit more of a loss leader for them.
Yeah.
But I don't argue that it's still like, if you buy it, paint the minis, and like actually play the game, it is still like a pretty good value for your money. It's comparable.
Self-contained. So.
Yeah. It's just like if the thing you're always comparing it to is like, because it's a board game. in a lot of
Right.
ways, more than a miniature game. You're comparing it to other board games, and $130 Canadian for a board game is pretty pricey these days, right?
Yeah.
You're getting into more of the premium kind of board game status.
Yeah. Only.
And it has minis, so I mean
only
that's
the
fair.
hardcores,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. What do you think? What's your estimation? Do you think it's? Do you think much is going to change?
You know what? I think I'll be the people are gonna be like, you Jay's a effing liar or whatever. I'm gonna say it's gonna. I'm gonna say it's gonna do better than we think. I think we'll sell through the ones we got, and we'll get some new people playing it. I wouldn't be completely shocked if we saw some games happening a little bit in the store. It doesn't mean the long term. I'm just saying short term. I think in the next 3-6 months, it will be a little thing here. Past that, I don't know, but I'm gonna say it has a 60% chance of slightly over 50 of being a thing for a little while.
I think GW would take that.
Yeah,
sounds like a pretty big win if that's the case.
Sure.
Yeah, better than them just sitting and rotting on the shelf, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching this video today, guys. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. That helps us out a lot. You can check us out on Patreon at Lords of War Games and Hobbies. Until next time, take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.